Okay, so welcome everybody. This is Living the Dream 15, and I've been looking forward to this one a lot. This is going to be the introduction to soundscaping part 3, and I'm going to show you what I think is the core of what I'm doing. It's this setup in Ableton, and I'm going to build that, or something similar, not the same thing. I'm going to build something similar, and you can ask questions, obviously, and I hope we'll get into some sort of exchange here. So what is special about today's meeting is that the audio is only going to go through the audio movers. So you have to have that link open in your browser, and you should connect there, and you should be able to hear something. So right now I'm playing this pre-produced track that's pretty quiet. So I think we're almost complete. We're like 30, I think we should be about 40 people total. So anybody who joins in and doesn't have the audio movers link, you won't be hearing sound. You will only hear the talking, and you'll be seeing the video or my screen. Yeah, there's no other solution to doing this at the moment, I'm afraid. Okay, so everybody, please have your microphone muted. Also, Hugo, just mute it for now. Hey, yes.
Markus, do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Yeah.
Something happens when I go to Zoom. The image disappears. I can listen to you, but I can't see you. I don't know why.
Oh.
I will restart. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, just come back anytime. No problem. Okay, so I already saw the first guy ask where the audio movers link is, but he hasn't reserved. So this is just like a problem we have to live with right now. And Sorin Ishlai, he's going to help, and he's going to try to help sort these things out today. Okay, so today I'm allowing a little bit more time if necessary, yeah, but I also want to try to keep it like as concise as possible. So, but we may need more than 90 minutes to do this. Anyway, so I'm going to start sharing my screen here. So here, this is Ableton Live. And let me just try to, okay. So right now we can see here's this clip. It's the track that's now playing on audio movers that you're hearing. And I'm just going to remove this, and now we have silence, right? So let me just start with showing you how to set up your Ableton, okay? So basically, it's very easy. You need to go to unfortunately this is in German, but this is just settings here. And what you need to do is that the audio interface input, you basically select the audio interface that you want to use. And for me, that's the Scarlett here. And my Helix with just a very simple sound, just a volume pedal, delay, and reverb is connected to the audio interface. So that's what's going, the Scarlett is what's going into Ableton, yeah. So here, I created like a completely empty session so that you can see how I built this from the very beginning. So there's only one track here, and this is an audio track. Maybe I should even delete this. No, you can't delete it. You always have to have one audio track. Okay. So I renamed this, and let's just call this input. Okay. And audio, let's just see. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. channel 1 and 2, channel 1 and 2, and monitor has to be on in, which means that a signal that is being sent through this, and I'm gonna take my guitar and just test if this is coming. You tell me if you're hearing sound coming from the guitar, plugging in the guitar here.
Wonderful guitar.
Thank you. So just one simple note here, should be relatively soft because the level is down here, bringing it up. Should be able to hear this.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. So I'm going to put the guitar away for the moment. So this is basically just our input channel. Okay, so there's nothing on it. If I double click it, I'm trying to also do a little bit of an Ableton tutorial here, but you need to maybe have some understanding of how software like this works. Okay, so here's the audio input taking from channels 1 and 2 on the audio interface. Monitor in has to be on. And for now, the audio goes to the master, which means it's being copied here. And then from here, it goes to this listen to plugin, which is transmitting. And this is what you're getting in your browser. That's why you're hearing what's coming out of the master channel here in my Ableton session. Okay, so now the first thing we need to do, and this may come as a surprise, we need to record something, and we need to record silence. Okay, so that's why I'm simply putting this channel into record by doing this here, and then here on this clip I press record. Now there's a little bit of a pre-roll, and now it's recording something, and I stopped already. So we have recorded an empty clip, and yeah, this is our empty clip, and it's going to be very useful for us. Yeah, so it's actually the basis of my whole system is this empty clip. You'll see. So if you want to so basically this clip is going, let me just share my whole screen here for a moment. Let me just do this again. So now we get, okay, so now here, you see, can you see this? So we have, this is the Ableton folder of this project, LTD15 demonstration. And now there's a folder called samples, and I've just recorded this file here, rather small file, and it's empty. And this got automatically placed as we recorded it into this first slot here on this channel. So if we press play here, then you see it plays back. We see just visually that it plays back, but it's there's nothing on it, so we don't hear anything, and we would only hear something if we go here on automatic. I'll explain that later. This is not so important. Anyway, so now we're already starting to see if we just want to put, say, I create a new audio track, and if we want to have a looper on this track, just go to audio effects and go to looper. Let's just put the looper here. Okay, so now here on this track, let me just call this looper 1, or better to call it looper A. So here's this looper, and the looper can be, started, you can record, and you can go into overdub, go to play mode, you can clear it. All these things we're going to look at later, but you can do this, but this channel is not getting any input at the moment, right? Because we haven't selected, I mean, there's like channel 1 is selected here, but it's not on in, right? So that means it's not getting anything. we don't actually want to get the signal from input channel onto the looper directly. We want to do that indirectly. And this is kind of like the trick that some of you had already seen when I was working last time. What we need to do is we need to create a return track. And then we need to also show the return track. So this is the return track, and I just call that, let's just call it reroute A. Okay, so when we create a return track, we automatically create a send knob here in the send section. This is something that can be hidden independently. Like this here is the feature to hide these, but we want to see them. And for now, we also want to see the return track. So this is here, the return track A. And so let's just say return track A. We can say audio 2. So now this is super great, because now we can say we want to give this or send this to looper A on the track input of looper A. So it means now something that goes into input here is going to go through to here to the send, and this is sort of like a volume control for the send. So if I turn this up, then the signal goes all the way through here to the reroute A, and from the reroute A, it's going to get sent to the input of looper A, to this track. And then it ends up here at the beginning and will be passed through the looper. Yeah, any questions so far?
Not for me.
Okay.
I have one.
Yeah.
Is there latency between the movie from one place to another, get back to the looper A? From the input to the looper A, is there a latency?
Oh, latency, I don't know. There's probably not much latency within Ableton. No. And I wouldn't be concerned about this. This is just going like straight, as you know, like digital patching, basically, going from here to there and then onto this channel. Yeah. So there's no latency here. No. But having said that, latency is not even a concern, because what I would do, even, you see on the looper, you can decide if you want the input of the looper to be put through, like it's a bypass through the looper. And I want to say never. So what is getting into the looper is not passed through immediately. It's going to get looped, and only once the first loop starts, the recording is ended, it will come out at the end. Okay, so this is also important, so that the input here is never put through to the output of the looper. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Is that why you're not going directly into the looper?
No. The reason why I'm not going directly into the looper is because I want to create a feedback matrix where I want to be able to control how much signal is passing between the channels. You will see this later. Obviously, we could go directly, but you see now that we have this thing here with which we can control how much signal we want to send to looper A. This is kind of like the idea, so that this becomes our controlling feature to say how much we want to put into looper A. And you can already see, if you imagine what this means, you see we also have the send A on the looper channel itself. So that means we can say, okay, I want 100% of what goes into input to go to looper A, but you can also say I want the output of looper A to also go back to looper A. And this is why we're doing this. And actually even doing this is dangerous because it could create a digital feedback already. So I'm not doing this. Yeah, but it doesn't create a digital feedback right now because I say never here. Okay, so let's take this away. You could even, like, if you right click, you can deactivate the send, just to make sure that when you do this, nothing happens, no feedback is being generated. This means output of channel looper A would be fed back into the input of looper A, of the channel looper A. And this is what we don't want for the time being. Okay. Any more questions about this? No? Okay. So you need to know that I'm not seeing anybody's face while I'm looking at Ableton here and I talk. Okay, so this is already kind of like the whole foundation of everything. Yeah. So what we can do now is we can just say, okay, let's duplicate looper A, and we rename it, and we call it looper B. Okay. So same settings, like these also need to be on in. Forgot to say that before. So for looper B, we also need a reroute. So we need to create a new return track, and we call that reroute B. Okay, so here we need to send this now to looper B. Yeah, so now you see, now we have two sends here. So now we can decide, okay, I want to send signal to reroute A. That will go into looper A and then out to the master. Okay, or I can say input here goes through here, looper B, to reroute B first, reroute B first, and then to looper B via this selection here, audio to looper B. This goes here. So basically we have just duplicated these two channels, like now we have two looper channels and we have two rerouting channels. You see, on the rerouting channels, we don't have any processing. You could put processing on there, and I sometimes do, but for now, let's just keep it like really simple. Okay.
Markus, I have a question.
Yes.
This is JP here.
Yeah.
You say that by actioning A and B on the input channel, you can direct the input channel to looper A or B.
Yes.
But what's this sends, for example, the reroute A channel also has sends A and B.
Exactly. It has,
so
and we're not.
How does that work?
We're not using them.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see, they're already deactivated. They're already grayed out, because yeah, we just don't need them in this setup. But it could make sense. Like, let's say you could also use a channel like this as a reverb return track. And then you could say, okay, I also want the reverb return track to also go here to add a little bit of delay. But we don't want that. Right here, we just want we want them purely as a bypass. We just want to be able to use these controls here to send signal to looper A, and this one to send signal to looper B.
Yeah, and that allows also to have two musicians, for example, playing together to the same looper.
Exactly. For example, you will later see why we have to do this. Yeah, you will see that later. But I have to explain it this way first. Yeah. So because these can be automated. Yeah. These here can't be automated. Yeah, with a clip automation. This clip, this guy here that we recorded, the empty one, can have control information in it and can move this up and down automatically, or this up and down automatically, right? But you cannot have clips here, the return tracks, to move things up and down. So that's why we actually have to reroute the signal through the return tracks back into the mixer to have the possibility to send, and now we can already see it. So you see here on looper A, I had deactivated to send back to looper A. So on looper B, I need to do it the other way around. I need to deactivate this send. So I don't want this loop to be sent back to itself through this via the reroute channel, okay? So you see here, I have activated looper A again. So now we can see something beautiful, but let me do something else first before I forget. So here on the looper itself, I want to, just for now, just as a default, I want to say no quantization, no tempo follow, and no song control. It's not important what that is, but we just want to turn it off. Okay, so so you see now here, what we got here already is our feedback matrix. So you see, we have looper A, and we can, by raising this, we can say looper A can send signal to looper B via the reroute. And looper B can send signal to looper A via the reroute track. You see that?
Marcus,
Yes.
I misunderstand? This is Henry. Am I misunderstanding this, or is this like a digital version of what Brian Eno was doing on No Pussyfooting with Robert Fripp's guitar?
I'm not exactly sure what they did, but you know, back then in the analog days, it was very common to use audio feedback. You would have your mixing desk, and you could do exactly the same thing. You could actually take a send and plug it physically into a channel, into another channel on your mixing desk. And this is basically what we're doing here. We just have to kind of like take this this detour via these tracks. Yeah, these tracks here, which have nothing, or channels, let's say. These channels have nothing on them. They are just necessary and needed so that we can use the sends to send signal back onto our looper A and looper B tracks. Yeah, so yeah, probably Fripp and Eno. I'm not sure. Okay, any other questions to this point?
Marcus.
Yeah.
This is Phil. I didn't catch when you added the first looper in. Did you just take the one bar, or did you just put looper in? And is there any? I think you had said earlier in an earlier session that you have different length loops, and that's one of the ways you create some of your effects.
Yeah. So the setting, you can see it right here. So you have to do, like, say never for the pass-through of audio. So input to output, never. For now, feedback is at 100%. This is all default settings here. And then like global no quantization, or there you go. We're on the second track now, and we copied it before. So no here, and none, and none here. So this is the basic setup. So you only need to drag the looper itself, not one of the presets. Okay, so this is just how I would do it. You can do anything really, yeah, but it's more about the overall structure of how we're putting this together. But you know, this is important. Never. Okay, otherwise we would get very crazy feedback easily. Okay. Okay, so so now if we would. I don't even want to show it, but well, let's show you. I'll take my guitar and I'm just gonna play a few notes. So see now here both sends are up, and you can see here on these two channels that they are getting signal. Yeah, so you see that there's slightly less on A because this is sending at a lower level. Now you can see there's a bit more difference. Now I can give more on B. You see, this is coming up even, right? And so it's this mix, basically, or this gives you a mixing option to say, okay, I only want, I don't know what this is, like 20% to go to looper A and 100% to go to looper B, for example. So I can also say nothing to looper B, everything to looper A. So now if looper B is actually recording in record, it doesn't get any signal. So it is recording, but it doesn't get any signal. Now I can also put looper A into record, but it's gonna get signal. Right, so now here, I go to overdub and now it starts playing back here. Yeah, so but this guy is still running and I go into overdub mode now, but there's nothing in looper B yet. There shouldn't be anything in looper B. Ha ha ha. Now this is interesting why that happened. Does anybody know why that happened? I don't. Let me see. There's something is still wrong. Oh yeah, this is
still have audio input.
Yeah, exactly. That's still wrong. It has to be set to no input here.
You have external input.
Yeah. There
Okay.
you go. So now that's why it happened. So let's just clear these again. Okay. So now. Okay. So this one's cleared. This one's cleared. Okay. So now it's so now they both have like a set length, but they are not linked to each other in terms of tempo, right? So this is the shorter loop. And so this is loop A, so I need to give it a signal like this, and I can play my 2 notes here again. Okay, so this went into looper A. And now I can send something to looper B. Looper B is already looping. It's also in overdub mode. So, you see now this loop B, this loop A. So now from here on, I can already start sending the output of looper B to looper A. And also looper A to looper B. So this is working and doesn't give us loud feedback right away because you see this is set to never. So there's always a delay between the signal that comes in and that goes out. Same is true for loop B. That's why we can do something like this. So but let's just wait a little bit and see how fast it builds up. So what you can see now, I have control over the volume of the feedback. So I can try to build this, say try to get it loud. now it's starting to get more drony. So you can hear the phrases overlapping, and now it gets really thick. So let me just turn this down. So now basically there's no more cross feedback because these have been turned down. So that means what we're hearing now is kind of frozen. And it will always keep looping like this. But we have two looping length here, durations that are not related at all. Which means it's going to loop for a long time before it returns to its initial state. But you see, all of this you can do with the feedback at 100% for both loopers. It's actually pretty incredible. Yeah, so even without messing with these levels, you can get some interesting results. And no loud feedback. Okay. Are there any questions?
Yes, Markus, please remind me what the color codes in live are. Blue is overdubbing?
I mean this? Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's overdubbing, yes.
So it's red, orange, and blue, what we have now.
I have never paid attention to that, yes, but let's see. Yeah, play is green, overdub is blue, and yes, record is red, yes.
Okay, so we were feedbacking and recording at the same time. Okay.
Yes,
so
yes, that's very important. Right?
Thank you.
Like if you're not overdubbing, then basically what that means is that the content of the looper is frozen.
Okay.
Right? Nothing gets added on top. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So let me show you a little trick I do. Here with the key function, you can assign keys on the keyboard to specific functions here. So for example, what I would do, I would say like on looper A, choose the record, and record would get the letter A on my keyboard. And I have a German keyboard, so the row that starts with A goes A, S, D, F. So I would go A, S, D, F. So now it gives me the possibility just with the button D to start and with F to stop. So you don't see my fingers here, but it's very quick. Can do stuff like this. And on S gives me overdub. And on A would give me record. So, and for looper B, I do the same, but I use the row underneath. So Y, for me it's Y there, then X, C, and V. So this way I have like two rows that I can basically control with 4 fingers of my hand. And so even if when I'm on a dark stage, I could put my fingers there and I know exactly how to start recording on looper A, on looper B, how I can go into overdub mode, how I can go to record, to playback, or to stop. And so another, I mean, since we're at this, I'll show you what else I would do. So for example, like reverse on looper A, looper A, reverse, I would put the letter R for reverse. And on looper B, I would put the letter T, which is right next to my R here. So that way I also know that the two keys next to each other, one reverses looper A, the other reverses looper B.
One question.
Yes?
Is there any risk by using this command of creating unwanted glitches or clicks that then enter into the looper and create something you don't exactly want to?
Yeah, you know, I don't think it's related to assigning it to the keyboard. But yes, sometimes there are still glitches and some clicks when you're reversing a loop. But I think that's more a technical issue of the reverse function itself. Like, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was very bad, but nowadays it's hardly ever a problem. And I mean, this sounds crazy, but I think it's also related to the stability of the electricity you have on stage, or, you know, it's like sometimes you really don't know why things act glitchy, but in principle, in the software, it shouldn't make a difference. It's just a controller. It's just like adding a little controller keyboard or a fader box or something. But I found that using the keyboard of the laptop was a very good way for me to organize how to control the loopers. So, for example, one thing that will become important is, for example, the feedback. Feedback, you know, if I want to adjust it like to 50% or something, then I would go and either have like a fader box or do it this by hand like this. But for the example that we just had, where we have a big buildup of sound, you want to be able to also maybe just go to 0. And what I did is I just, you know, use the 0 key here and do the same on looper B, 0 key. And then I have my min and max here. And like using the 0 key, you see that I'm pushing the 0 key now, and you see it jumps back between 100% and 0%, or whatever. You can also set it to some other value if you want. As you can see here, you can set the minimum and the maximum value of the key, and this is key 0, and it's controlling looper B, looper feedback, and also here 0 key 0, looper A, looper feedback. And so that means that and we can't see this at the same time because like we can only ever see like one track at the same time here, but it works on both loopers at the same time, the 0 key on my keyboard. Okay, so then some other things I would...
Markus?
Yes?
Markus, this is a quick question, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead, and I hope this isn't a dumb question. But does this program offer a pulse stretch feature that you can use in real time as you're performing, where you can literally alter and stretch the loop that you just did?
Yes, you can, but for now, this is like what we're not trying to do. What I did here is I took the looper out of any time domain, let's say, by not having it quantized, not having it react to the grid or the tempo that the session is set at, right? The reason for that is that we actually want the audio itself to be just pure and a pure loop of what we're doing. We don't want to stretch it or anything. However, and this is what I was gonna get to right now, I just explained that there's this reverse function, and let's maybe just listen to that. Let's just go to play looper A. Yeah, now if I push the R key on my keyboard, it reverses it. And you see there was no glitch, no click. It runs backwards, forwards again. It's actually very smooth. Yeah, and it's the key here on looper B. So if I want to start looper B, I just push my button C on the keyboard, and then I can use the key T to reverse it. Okay, so what I would also set up on the keyboard is the speed here. Speed is the sample rate at which the loop plays back. So basically, and let me show you, it's if I go down like this, it slows the playback down, and I can go to minus 12, which is an octave down, which means the loop simply plays back at half speed, giving us which plays it back at an octave lower. You could also go on back to original or an octave up, or even more, So what I tend to do is I assign the letter U. Well, let's go to looper A. the letter U for up, I assign that to octave up here, and then the letter which is below the U, which is the J on my keyboard, or whatever key it's on your keyboard, like J. So now, with the letters U and J, I can go up and down here, while I use the letter R to switch between reverse and forward. Okay, so then I do the same for looper B, and I assign the up to the key that's on the right of my U, that's an I here, and the down on looper B to K, which is below the I. So this way, now for looper B, I get the same functionality, the same control, and again with T, I can go to reverse. So with something like this, so maybe let me try. Let's just, completely clear our loops here. Say we want to record straight into both of them, no cross feedback. These here are down, and we can even hide these here. So I've just hidden these return tracks. We don't need to see them really. Okay, and so I'm just going to press record on both my loopers. I can now do that simply by pushing the key A on my keyboard for looper A, and for looper B, it's the Y. So now I just play one note, let's say a D. Okay, so now on looper B, I've set the, and I do this here. So now it's the same note that got recorded into both loopers. And so what I can do now here, obviously I can say on looper A, I want to go up an octave. That's the octave up there. So you see both loopers are still in overdub mode. Right now, that doesn't do anything because we're not sending. But now I could say, okay, I want to send the looper A, which has the I octave. I want to send this to looper B. So now see what happens. So we let this run through a couple times. So now as this plays the high octave, and I'll just put it up another octave, so we'll get even more of this effect. Down, and so here now I turn this back, and again it can even stop looper A. So now here we have recorded the treatment we did on looper A. We recorded that into looper B. Yeah, that's so. This is now this looper, and now we could say, okay, looper B, one just octave down, and let's just say we put our looper A back here. Now we want to record what is in looper B into looper A. So, and while this, so let's not get crazy right now. Let's just wait what happens. So, but you can already imagine what's going to happen. Yeah, now we hear this is the recording. Now we can send this right back to looper B also. And we can just go crazy with our octaves here. So all the treatments I'm doing here, like I'm actually using mostly the keyboard here. All this is going to be recorded to the opposite looper. And I can also give it more level here. So I'm just taking it out of, to see what we've created here. So now I'm not moving my fingers at all. Now this is only what we've just done, created this. So now I can add another note, obviously. See, I still have the 2 cents up here on the input. That means this, you know, the signal that goes into the input, the note that I just played will get passed to looper A and to looper B. Okay, now I just need like a B and looper A. And then I just put like a C into looper B. So right now, let me just stop this for a moment. So you see what was happening is now we could use the fact that we can cross feedback from one looper to the other, and we can actually turn it down so it does not cross feedback. And then we can be very precise and say, okay, I want something just to go to looper A or something just to go to looper B. So it offers you all sorts of ways to keep the 2 loopers discrete in terms of which notes I play into them. But then you can also say, okay, no, I want this to be, you know, I want this one to be sent to looper B. I want looper B to be sent to looper A. So this really is already the setup, the whole setup in a nutshell. I know it only took us like 45 minutes. So let's make a round of questions before I continue with the next steps here.
I got one, Markus.
Yes.
Yeah, you've done some manipulation on the keyboards while you were passing the loops. So was that recorded somewhere, or is this editable? I mean, can you, for example, you realize that one of the manipulation you are not very happy with? Can you change it?
No.
Redo the same thing but change it?
No. No.
So it's recorded, and that's as if you are playing something and recording.
Yes, exactly. It's
okay.
not. I'm not recording the data of the actions.
Okay.
I'm only recording the audio output. Right.
And there is no setup where you could record that and come back on it and maybe edit it and change it or fine tune it, whatever.
I think it may be possible. You know, but in which case you would, I mean, this is what Ableton Live is for. Ableton Live can record every single thing you do in it. So, but that would completely defeat the purpose of what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah. So the idea is not to have something that is editable, but to have something that's organic and alive. Yeah. And so, the interesting question also is like, even if I don't know, like the precision of the recording has to be very, very precise for it to actually recreate the same result. And since the input signal that we're talking about, I record that live, and I'm not recording it, even if I record this here, yeah, this movement, it would be impossible to recreate because the input signal wouldn't be the same.
Yeah,
so that's why like I don't concern myself with this idea, because this is sort of like it's a machine for creation of music, and it's like a musical instrument. You know, it's not something that you pick up and then it produces the exactly same sound again.
No, I was thinking of using it not only as a way of playing, but as a way of composing. For example, you play a sequence of 3 notes and then 3 other notes, and you see how they interact together in the loops. and maybe you can adjust that and create some interesting composition.
Of course, you can do that. And if you're using an input that is, say, that is like a MIDI clip that plays a synthesizer or something, then it kind of like makes sense, because then you can exactly recreate what was happening there. I could also obviously record what comes in on the input, and I could do that. But like I said, it would just defeat the purpose of what I consider to be the strength of the setup.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you setting loop length?
I'm setting the loop length simply by let me show you. I would press record, and I wait, and at some point I go to overdub, and that's the loop length. That's the answer to the question, and I think it's like, it is very crucial to be aware of the loop length, like between the two loopers. So what I try to do is to always kind of find like a sweet spot, like a musical sweet spot. I have like internally, I have this pulse for the notes that I'm playing, and I'm kind of like trying to follow that pulse a little bit. But I'm always, you know, like maybe when looper 1 is this length, this kind of length, I would do something, you know, slightly longer on the other looper. Yeah, I would wait maybe, you know, 5 seconds more or whatever. This is part of kind of like being like really aware of what you're doing, right? You see this now, looper A, I deleted it. I can push play here again. You see this one is longer than this one, and really it's part of it that these two loopers are not synchronized. So
Markus, you are creating your loops as you play.
Yes.
You're not preparing the loops before.
No.
I mean,
no.
you are
no.
just intuitively arranging the loop length
yes.
when you play.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, kind of like looking at the phrase that I'm playing, you know, like as I play it, and when I'm, or let me just demonstrate again. So I clear both loopers. So let's just say I want to play into both loopers at the same time. Okay, no cross feedback for now. Okay, so the thing is that on the keyboard, I can now, with 2 fingers, I can press A and Y, like the record buttons of the loopers at the same time. This is something you could not do using the trackpad, for example. The trackpad, you would have to do this, and then you have to do this, right? But here, what I can do with my keyboard controls, I can just go and so A and Y at the same time. No, both loopers are recording at the same time. So then I would play a little bit of a phrase. This is my phrase, and then I would go to overdub here. Now this starts, and now you could even like hear. And now start the other one here. So now I have sort of an idea what the offset is between the two. Yeah, so could put this to left and right. So this is looper A on the left channel. See, and what happens is you get like these nice moments of silence also. So there's a longer gap if looper B, now looper B comes in the right channel. So that's that.
I would have a question.
Yes, please.
In your systems and this matrix, you talk about freedom and the organic nature of it being kind of the strong point of it. But I think what would be interesting is to see what kind of control you have. So how you manage to not have it feedback on itself too much, or the octaves not getting too high or too low, so it gets muddy or too shrill. So what kind of limitations do you give the system?
Yeah, thanks Jonas for asking this, because this is kind of like the next step of building our system here. Okay, so I'll just it's just clear, you know, like one thing that I also do is I use the key and I assign the letter C, or no, the letter B is what I normally use for clear on both loopers. So now all I need to do is push the letter B and the loops get emptied. Okay, this is just one of my things. Okay, yeah, so how do we control things? So first of all, we can use, for example, there's just a limiter here in, and let's on the input channel, let's say we want to put a limiter, and we just give it just a little bit of -1 dB gain, and the ceiling, let's say ceiling also -1. Why not? And cool thing is we can do look ahead here. So here we go. So that means like the level of what goes in is going to get controlled here by the limiter. And as we can see, this kind of like makes sense also to have on the other channels. So I'll simply copy it. You see now we have the limiter here behind, and we can like, okay, copy also onto looper B. See, so this would control the ceiling of level that would come out, which obviously is very helpful. And this is, I mean, even though that doesn't really happen to me much anymore, but if you would go over the headroom, things would get pushed down, and it wouldn't break the computer. Okay, so that's this. So then for the loopers, and this is kind of like a trick that I found. Even, you know, back in the 90s when I was using the quarter verb 2 effect, and we just to use a panning device, and there here in Ableton we have an auto panning device, which is very nice, and we simply would drop the auto panning device, and I think I've shown that to you in the other, in the one first or second part of this workshop. So here we go, the auto panner, and I would say like just a little bit of a, I don't know, let's say 40%, and the rate would be like really low, something like, I don't know, 7 Hertz, or really slow fade from left to the right, basically lowering the level of one side of the signal and then lowering the level of the other side of the signal, of this, you know, left and right channels just going back and forth. And obviously if we have this in front of the looper, it means that the signal that gets into the looper is already panning from left to right very slowly. But the main reason why I do this is that if we're using the cross feedback and we're sending something from looper B into looper A, means that it's not the whole of the stereo of looper B that gets in looper A. And that also makes things less dense. Or it takes longer for things to get dense, and also it places the signals in different parts of the stereo field when you're listening with stereo with a stereo setup. Yeah. So and when doing this, like obviously I would say I want to do the same thing on looper B, but on looper B I would, you know, again, move it to the beginning of the chain. And here I would want to do the same, but slightly different. So maybe just a little bit faster, like ever so slightly faster, let's say, and maybe wider. Like on this looper, it would be 60% width, right? So this is another way that we can control things. So let me just play again with this setup, and let's say we're gonna do the cross feedback right away, and I'm only gonna send to looper A, and looper A is gonna send 100% to looper B, and looper B is gonna send, I don't know, like 80% back to looper A. So here the loops are empty. I'm gonna go press record, play a few notes. So this guy is still running. Okay. So now this guy, Looper B, doesn't have anything in it yet, but it gets something now. As this one is playing back, like 80 or 90%. Ah, now we get it here. So now you can already hear that the signals are placed. This was kind of like this to the right, to the left. So now this creates the left to right kind of depth of field. It is kind of like, the funny thing is it creates some sort of like depth actually, even though it's just left and right. And we're not adding any reverbs at this point. You see, now we can already hear repeating all the time. So this is already a feedback that's going to build up. So, but the nice thing is that the feedback, since it's not always sitting in the middle, it kind of creates this organic flow of things. So even though it gets louder, and you see the feedback is at 100% here. Okay, so obviously, like to control something, we could also just say, okay, go to reverse or an octave down on Looper B. Let's do the same on Looper A. So now they're both an octave lower, which will also make the build-up of the feedback slower. So now we already have much more control. So now we're hearing something that is pitched up an octave, not because we pitched looper B up an octave, but because we recorded into the other loop at half speed. So this is how things start to interact then. See ya. It's down again. You can use the reverse also to control things. Okay, more questions?
Markus, is this program also available in multi-channel in addition to stereo?
That's a good question. I don't think it is. But multi-channel basically means, there are no plugins that work as multi-channel plugins, but you can obviously build a multi-channel setup here. Because you could say, rather than sending something to the master, which is stereo in this case, right? You could send it to any output on your interface, and you could say even like the Focusrite I have here has. Let me just look what kind of. I know I have used the external headphones as an output source, but yes, you could very easily say, okay, send to output 1 and 2 and Looper B to output 3 and 4, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not. But I know your question. I don't think it does that. I've never heard that it does that multi-channel.
Hello, everyone. This is Theogenus. I just posted a link in the chat to a free suite of software called Envelope that allows via Max for Live ambisonic processing and multiple outputs, like JP was asking.
Ah, cool. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have fun.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so
I have a question, sorry, this is Gregory, about the feedback. So if you keep in the overdub mode, I mean, it will eventually feed back even with the limiters. Is that a safe assumption, or?
Which feedback are you talking about? The feedback within the looper or between the channels?
Well, just that, it will build up and create a feedback, like if you have the sends all on and you're in the overdub mode constantly.
Yes.
After some period of time, it will.
Yes,
the
exactly.
Signal will feed up and become bad.
Yeah. I mean, you could already hear that it's getting louder and louder, right?
Yeah.
And it's
thicker and thicker.
You know, and see, it was like the actions that I made that kind of also kind of stopped it from building up quicker. And that was what's kind of like the idea, like, or the question, like, how can this be controlled? Obviously, the easiest way to control it is to turn these down, right? So to not have the feedback there anymore. Also, there is obviously the feedback on the loopers themselves also. So so that means basically, like, if they are set at 100%, and like the thing is that I can't look inside of these loopers, so I don't know exactly how they work when they are set at 100%. But if it's set to 50%, then the idea is that the signal that when it is being played back, so when the loop returns, let's say, it's only played back at 50% of the level and kind of fades out with every repeat. And so you can also do that and put the loopers to a lower amount here and get less built up within the loopers themselves. Yeah. And since we're never sending something straight through the loopers, we always have like a delay of, I don't know, you can also do short things like 2 seconds or even like a few milliseconds or something on the loopers. Obviously, the shorter the loopers, the faster the build up. Right. Yeah. But with the kind of phrase length that I use, it's not such a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. I recorded my voice just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and it fed back very fast just now as we're doing this.
Yeah. Exactly. You see, I already also have experience in controlling this, right? And this is why I'm sharing the screen, so that you can see how I'm treating this. Yeah. So the loops, they have to have a certain length for it to actually not build up so quickly. You also need to be it's like you need to get lucky. So you don't want the two loopers to have exactly the same length, or you don't want them to have like a multiple length or something. Like twice as long or something, because then the build up obviously will also come quicker. And this is where like you could use like interesting numbers, like the golden ratio, for example, would give you something that will take a long time to meet up again, right? But I don't do something like that, because I just prefer to use my hands to define the loop length of the phrases. Yeah, so more intuitive. But even then, I don't think we can be as precise to kind of hit a spot where it would build up, immediately after 2 rounds of a loop or something. It's very unlikely. Yeah. So, but obviously, let me just show you one more thing with the simple version. But this is still the simple version of the setup. So what we can do also, so you see that we have this cool feature that the output of the loop can be recorded into the other loop or into the other looper, and then from that looper back. Okay, so that means that any processing we put behind a looper will be then passed to the other looper. If we, like, for example, let's use just some reverb here. There's this nice one, which is called long tail. And let's just say, let's put considerable amount, let's say of 50% here. and it holds, that's also low cut. So now let me just delete the loopers again and just kind of reset them. And you see now I've set the feedback. I've set the feedback back to 100. Okay, so now if I record something just into looper A, and I'm just going to do just a short. So now I've added, you can hear this reverb here, which is on this, on channel on looper A. So now if I send this to looper B and record here, means that the version of looper A that we get into looper B has reverb on it. So I can even do this a little more extreme. So what happens now is, because this is going as, you know, things are going in a, like an 8, like in circles, we get more and reverb, we get reverb built up. So now if we also take the feedback down and we bring this up, so now everything is gonna basically fade into reverb more and more. So this maybe seems a little subtle, but now the feedbacking loops, they're fading more and more into reverb, because behind looper A we have the reverb. So we're going to lose more and more of the original and get more and more feedback as this goes around. And now you can already hear some frequencies feedbacking. You hear that? So, but then we also have the choice to still building up, and it's actually building up through the cross feedback. So let's take this away. Now it gets very loud. So let's see what happens if we bring the feedback down on the loopers, and we have no cross feedback now. So now everything simply fades out. Okay, so now we heard an example of actually audible feedback, and we did put treatment behind the looper. You know, so that means like everything that goes out and then gets re-recorded into looper B has this treatment on it. And then as this process repeats, because looper B passes the signal back to A, we get this interesting nested way of processing that kind of like puts things, like you could see it as putting things behind in the space in the stereo field. So in combination with the autopanner at the beginning, it can create really, really beautiful, very, very deep soundscapes.
Can you choose, Markus, also just to put just the effect in the looper and not the main sound? For example, from looper A to B, instead of putting the whole sound with the reverb, just the reverb.
Yes, I mean, I could put 100% here. Is that what you mean?
Oh, yeah, okay. No, yeah, I mean, into looper B, only the reverb sound enters and not the direct sound from looper A.
Yeah, that would be possible if, and this is really getting too much, but that would be if you put the reverb onto the reroute channel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that means that our direct signal would go through to the master, and via the rerouting, if we raise this on channel A, for example, we could put reverb. So that means that everything that passes through the reroute will get reverb, but not the signal itself that goes out. It's possible. Yeah, anything goes here, really.
Yeah, not really with a reverb, but it could be interesting with something else.
Yes, and like I said at the beginning, I have actually some plugins on these channels in my proper setup. Yeah. Okay, so we're already kind of like at 80 minutes or something. So now let me, or is there any other important question? Please ask. No?
Markus, do you use any EQ settings within the feedback loops?
No, not for the time being. But I said that no. But you see, like even like the reverb here has a EQ here. So yeah, in a way, you would say I'm using EQ simply by putting the reverb onto the signal. What I tend to do is, and this is something that I think I've demonstrated in the other episodes, I put a filter on there, which is basically like an EQ, and I would let me just demonstrate. Let's have the reverb back on. Yeah, 50% is good. So let me just place something into looper A. Sorry. So again, just using. Yeah, let's just loop this. So this filter is this. So now what you could do is you can say, okay, we want this to record to looper B. Start looper B. Okay, now we can make a little performance here. And on looper B, I go to overdub. Turn this out. So now here in looper B, we have recorded the performance with the filter. Stops there. And then we can have both running, and then you can do this, and you get like really complex stuff going. So you see, it's super interactive and it's wonderful. You know, you just put one one effect there, and it is not, it becomes alive because anything that you do with it kind of like feeds back into the system and creates these incredible textures and things like almost automatically.
Yeah, so a very important part of all the displays, your ear.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Like ear and also like experience, like working or controlling the system. Yeah. But you see, like right now, we have not even gone to the point which is kind of like most important. Okay, so the reason why we have recorded this empty thing here is that in Ableton you have what is called envelopes. Okay, so now this clip here can control this scent, for example. Okay, so let's say, so now we can have automation here, and let me just do something just like random. Automation here that controls. You see this red dot here? So the red dot, the red dot shows us that there's automation coming from the clip. So now here is the secret of everything. So the scent is never up all the way at all times. It's moving. So here we can also say we can unlink this and we can make this, we can make this a longer loop, something like this, and something like this, for example. You see, this is the way it's working here now. And then what we would do, we can just copy this clip, put it here. So now looper A, looper B doesn't do much for us. So we need to automate this one. And hey, that's interesting. Why does it not do this? Okay.
No clip on B.
I can't hear you.
I said you need a clip on B for that.
I don't hear. Sorry, your sound is very bad.
Oh.
Can you clip on B for that?
I don't understand. Sorry, the sound is very bad.
Sorry, it looks like you are you editing the clip for A or for B? I'm laggy here. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to edit this one here. You see, and it is automating this guy, but this one is not. So we need to do this. Here we go. And now we can automate this guy.
Your automation has the same length as the loop.
No.
You can have a different loop length.
Yes, you can say unlink. So now it is the length of the automation is unlinked from the original, from the length of the file. So now I can set my, can set any length here. Wow. For my automation. And this is what makes it so amazing. So, and obviously if working on this like seriously, I would kind of make totally sure that these two automations do not have the same length.
Yeah, so you never repeat anything.
Yes, yeah, but if they do, then there's the risk of getting feedback quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we see, so this guy, it doesn't hurt that it's there, so we just leave it there. Okay, or we could even do this and put this back there, so we have both going. But you see, the funny thing is also that you can start the clips at different times anyway, so that even then they will be offset. You could also start them together, but right now, so here you go. So now let's see what happens if I play something into this, okay? So I mean, it's not gonna sound very different from before, I think, but you'll see it will not build up that quickly. Okay, so here we go, and cool thing is that the automation here is tied to the tempo of the session. So I can lower the tempo of my session, but the loopers, as you know, I did put them to none here. They will not follow the song tempo. So that means by using this, I can slow down the tempo of the automations. So now this gives a lot of control. Or we could even do something like this and it would make it really glitchy. Okay, I heard somebody who wanted to ask a question, I think, or say something. No?
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah.
How many loops do you use or do you recommend to use?
Just two. Just two. I've worked with more loopers, but it doesn't add anything because this already is a feedback matrix. So that means it's like an endless number of loopers in a way, right? Which in a way is not true, but just in practice, adding more loopers does not give you any benefits, except you want to use like another standalone looper that has a particular length that does not go into the feedback system. You know, so if you wanted to play a bass line underneath that, you know, should just repeat the same always. But for this kind of like what I call like my soundscaping system, you only need two loopers.
Thanks.
Yeah. So what is so incredible about this, what is called clip automation here, is that you can also do something like this, and you can modulate. And yeah, this is probably going to be crazy, but you can also do stuff like this on the looper. You see now the speed here of the looper itself is being automated by the clip here. So if I press play, yeah. So, and at the same time, we have the send here, and we can go back to over up here also, on both of them actually. So it's really, really incredible for any sort of experimental sound design.
And do you have a way to take over from the automation? For example, an automation is running and you want to take over and do something else.
Exactly. That's what's happening here is that what now I'm moving this with my trackpad here. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the automation is relative to the setting that I have here. Yeah. So that means if I don't want the send to be up, I do this and the automation does not do anything. So it's scalable by the master parameter that you're controlling. And that's what makes it super nice and organic, what I say. Like you can still control the ceiling of the automation. The automation always just is being scaled between 0 and the setting that you have here. And you can see it. Well, I should actually be able to see it.
It was interesting. You were able to achieve, it was almost like an organ accompaniment where the notes are these staccato kind of tone cluster chords.
Yes.
Almost like Sun Ra, but it was interesting because it's like there were two musicians playing. Does that, yeah, I mean, that's what I was experiencing.
Yes.
It's fascinating that you can do this in real time. And like you said, that is part of that organic quality of this setup.
Yes, exactly. And this what you call like organ-like quality, it just comes from the fact that we're sampling here. You know, loopers are samplers. They record the audio. So when you're manipulating the sample, you slow it down, you speed it up. Basically, it is the same basic idea how the first electric organs kind of worked, and that's why we get this sort of idea when we hear these sounds. And I have to say that they are to be used with caution. Like when I'm like doing this demonstration here, you know, this is something I would probably not do in a piece of music or in a performance. Yeah. But you see, like what the whole point that I was trying to make is that with the clip automation, the automation that sits within this thing here, you control everything that's on this channel. And so that means you can actually control the feedback to itself. So we could even be crazy and activate the send and then do something like get rid of the feedback here. And we have created basically a looper that goes through the effects that are behind it, but we have the return automated so we don't get crazy feedback. So this is really, once you have set the system up like this, there are no limitations at all. So it's really wonderful, and I would encourage you all to try it out. And so the last couple things I show you is you can then, it makes sense to have maybe a couple more channels. We can basically just duplicate here looper B, but then we call this, say, delay. And what we do then here, we take the looper away and just put a delay effect on it. Yeah, something like this, yeah, 100% wet, for example. And what we would have to do then, if we want to do it right and we want to include this channel into our feedback matrix, we need to create a new return track and call it, well, reroute C, for example, or we can call it reroute delay. Okay, and this goes to the track called delay. No input, monitor on. This can be activated. This should not be activated. So there you go. Now we have the possibility. Now we don't have any automation here yet, but we could say, okay, looper A can also send via the reroute C to the delay, and then the delay can get sent back to looper A or to looper B. And once you have this kind of setup, like the possibilities are absolutely endless. I usually use a delay track like this, and on top of that I use like a reverb track or like a pitch shifter track. I mean like channel that has a pitch shifter on it, channel that has delay on it. I integrate it into the matrix by using this trick here that we all know by now. And yeah, that's basically the setup, you know, that I've been using for 12 years now. And
so Markus, when you did the Live in Bethlehem session, which I think was 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
You were using a setup, you were using Ableton like this?
Exactly, yeah.
Because that was, yeah, you got some amazing things, like about halfway through that, there was stuff spatially happening in that just, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's exactly the same kind of setup.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So, and
Markus, this is Robert. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Does Ableton record all the output, or do you use a different program to record the final product of your?
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't do that today because I just wanted to have this like a virgin session here, right? But okay. So what you would do, you would simply create a new track. And then you say audio from, and you would choose resampling. Resampling means basically it takes a copy of what goes out on the master channel, and then it's being sent to this. So then all you need to do is to make this channel a recording, and you would press record here. And so now let me just play something. So the signal that comes in here, the output, is now being recorded here. Here we go. So now this is the recording. So it's easy to do. So, but sometimes, for example, you could say, okay, I want to record looper A, looper B, and the delay separately. In order to do that, you would set up like 3 channels to record on, and rather than choosing resampling, you would say, okay, here for this track, I'm going to take the input from looper A, yeah. Then do the same thing again. Well, let me just get rid of these. Duplicate this, but you're gonna go from looper B, yeah, and then the next one here you're gonna go from delay, and then you would record these here at the same time, and you would get the separate channels recorded here. This is what I like occasionally do, but most of the time I'm just recording the stereo.
So what would happen if you record at the top? You know.
You mean into one of those clips?
No, not above all these channels. You know, where you have the play and stop and record button. If you have the yeah, what would happen then? Is there a difference to resampling?
Oh yes, this is basically the button that makes everything record all the movements you make on the faders. Yeah, so this is a completely different layer. Yeah, this is okay. The layer. This is the layer of the channels, right? So here, and I mean this is let me show you. So what we would do, we would kind of like create a new scene here. So if we wanted to record these 3 things at the same time, what do we need to do? And this is something that not many people know. So you select these here, these are stop buttons. These are record buttons. So these are stop buttons because these tracks are not into record mode. These are into record mode, so that gives you the record button. So now, in order to, if you click here, it starts the whole scene. It starts all these buttons here. So if we don't want anything to be stopped here, you just say remove stop buttons. So now if we press here on scene 2, what happens is that these 3 will go into record. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I'm doing something wrong, but anyway, this is how it would work. Yeah. So this here is just for recording the. So let me show you. This will create a mess, but so now it's gonna start recording. Yeah. So you can do this kind of move, and it will record that into the arrangement here. But it's the kind of way of using Ableton that I never do, so that's why I'm not good at it. Yeah, so it's just something I don't ever do. But you can basically record everything that you move, but it has nothing to do with what I'm showing you guys here.
So Markus, you say Ableton is a wonderful product, but is there anything that you think is still missing, or some limitation, or?
Oh, tell me. I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I think it's even after years of use, there are some things where you cannot be sure that you remember how to do it. So like the user interface, I think it is good, but the learning curve was pretty steep. I remember, I started in 2002 or so, a long time ago, but it took me a long time to even like understand the concept. And some of the concepts I have no need for this sample manipulation and quantizing and stuff. I mean, I could use the quantizing sometimes, but I think Ableton is great for what I've just shown you here, that there's like the idea that you have, rather than just modulation, you could also assign simple modulations. This basically is a modulation, but you can write it yourself, you can draw it yourself, and that I found to be incredibly useful, because like in my setup, which it will be too difficult because in my normal setup, I have different kinds of clips here that have different kinds of behaviors, right? So something that goes like in smooth fades up and down or something like that, and then I would have glitchy automations, and I would have something in between. I would have rhythmic patterns, and yeah.
What could be interesting is to not loop the sound, but maybe loop the automations.
Yes.
So you make the automations evolve and not repeat because they are looping with two different loops and so on and so forth.
Yes, exactly. And that's what happens here anyway, right? Mm-hmm. You could use the same thing without actually using a looper, of course, right? As you see, the looper here is just one plugin on this channel. It doesn't have to be there. Yeah, you could have this automation of the sense act even without loopers being there. So it has nothing to do with the looping in itself. And you don't even have to use the feedback metrics. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that the other DAWs nowadays, they should be able to do the same thing. I just started doing this in Ableton Live, and I had to find this workaround to send stuff via the return channels to be able to modulate and to automate the sense, because you can't have clips here. You can't have clips here. So that means that you can't put automation on these channels. So that's why I had to route them back to the mixer, and then I could use the clips to automate the returns.
Markus, this, to my mind, this system offers a possibility. If you were in a situation with 4 other musicians, for example, you could, in a real-time situation, be recording them through this. And I'm talking about even acoustical instruments like saxophone, for example, or voice. You could be recording them and doing live processing in real time in a live setting with an audience. And wow.
Yeah, and there, that's what I do. I mean, there's, for example, like one of the early examples of that is a record I did with Shah, bass clarinet player, which basically was just me operating this system, and he was playing into a microphone with his bass clarinet, and we created this, what I think it's a great album you can find on my Bandcamp also. That was an early example, but then with Tim Motzer, the very first, well, one of the very first live shows we did together, which was on Starzand, the radio show in Philadelphia. I had, so basically you see, like we have this input channel here, but we could just say duplicate this input channel, and then you could, you know, select channel 3 and 4. So you could plug somebody else into the audio interface, and you would have the same controls here. Like what I haven't shown you at all is that within the system that I use, I also have a clip, automation clip here that automates even what goes into the loopers from the input channel. So this way, for example, I can even decide or let the computer decide which parts of what I play will actually get recorded. And then it gets like super interesting. I did this on, I think on the Quit Being So Gray. That's where I actually, the initial phrases I played, they all got kind of like hacked, you know, and cut up by this automation, even on the way into the loopers. Yeah, so it's really an incredible way of making music. So let me demonstrate this to you. So here I have had this on master all the time. Usually I don't even do that. I just say sense only. So that means that the initial thing I play, we're not even going to hear now. So I just deleted everything here. I'm also gonna remove this automation here. So I'm gonna reset the loopers to 100% feedback and to here like this. Okay, so let's see what happens now. So I'm going to put both, sorry, I'm going to turn them back on. I'm going to turn both loopers on into record mode. Just going to play something now. So now you see that something's coming in. This is like a D note that I have played here. So, and the D note is being, you know, faded into loopers A and B at different rhythms. And now I can just go, oh, this was in reverse anyway. So now we're, oh yeah, there we go.
The feedback must be on looper 2.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you. So you see, this was one static note that I played, right? So but it now already has a rhythm, because this is how it gets copied into. So now I'm playing another few notes here. But since I don't know. So I keep playing here. So it's basically just taking snippets of what I'm playing. And now I'm not playing anymore.
Keep this one, Markus. Don't get rid of it.
I'm not recording, so, but I could. Let me just record here.
Thank you.
Okay. So in a way, I've given away all my secrets today.
This is amazing.
But I would ask you to keep supporting me anyway. even though you know all the secrets now. So here, for example, now, let's see, maybe we can take the high end of this one a little bit. So now here, now I have created a new scene, so that means I can stop this automation here. So now this is set to a fixed thing. Now I can put a note underneath that is just itself. So now let me show you. So for example, I would then, for example, turn one loop up a little bit and turn the other one down. And then say reverse the one that's turned down, and I'll pitch it up an octave. And now I'll fade it back in, just so that it creates a nice mix. So I didn't like that much, so I'll bring it back down an octave. And so now just, now it's reversed. Here I would bring this back up, filter back up. Make this a little drier. Okay, so this guy is now getting too loud. Here and just say fade it out, pitch it down an octave, and I'll bring in the low drop. So now at this point you realize, like, it kind of sounds okay and sounds good, but you could also do more production as this plays. And here the question of compression and equalization and stuff comes in, which the question that somebody asked. Yes, it would make sense to have an equalizer behind the loopers, and then just kind of, you know, if your ear is good enough, you can EQ something live. See, this is a really nice piece of music, but I didn't do much. I only played notes from the D minor scale. This is what it is. So maybe it would sound better. Let me just fade this out. This is the one that is an octave lower. I can bring this back up. And on this one we can also put some reverb. Let's take whatever, Cathedral. Okay. The delay also to feed back onto looper B. So here is a situation where these sends, they are not automated. So there's always a little bit of a risk that they create a feedback. So we can also get this guy started, and we have automation there now as well. So now it's much safer.
Did you copy the automation settings from the other
Yes, I did. I did.
Yes.
And basically, you would have to change the length of the automation a little bit to make sure they don't sync up, which I didn't do now. But you would have to go in and just you change this a little, make it a little shorter here.
Yeah.
Right. And same thing here. Let's make it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're on the safe side. So, and there were times when I let something like this run overnight. You know, I would set up a system like this. I would also lower the feedback slightly, like to 98% or so on the two loopers, and I would let this run for hours. And sometimes I got lucky and something really beautiful got created. Sometimes it was just a drone, but it's really addictive to work with this. So again, you see on channel 1, I'm playing something now that can't be heard, but that's going to be copied into the loopers. And just a low drone, just a low D. There's also this trick, if you want to hear something immediately that you just played into the looper, it's what you do is, like, right after playing, you go and reverse, and there it is. Low D. Slowing down the automation can be good, but it can also make things build up again. Yeah. So let's try this. Let's go to a faster tempo here on the automation, and then on the loopers. On the loopers, we go to 0% feedback. So the interesting thing is, now you see, we're basically hearing only the cross feedback part of things. You could bring the feedback back up and then wait for things to build up again.
Is there a way that you could put in a panning effect where two of the channels would be panning to the left and the other two channels would be panning to the right? Or maybe having them, each of the channels in a certain way, to give an almost three-dimensional kind of space.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, yes, we can do something like this. You hear that, Henry?
Yes, he gave you the thumbs up. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, the cool thing is, well, as we do this, also this panning move is going to get recorded into the other looper. Everything we do to this track is being recorded via the sense to the other looper.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
So now if we wait like maybe 5-10 minutes, this will have built up to like a loud loop again. Like all these snippets, they will kind of like all get rearranged here, and they are being rearranged. And we will get built up from these as well. So also like this album Gratitude that I put out earlier this year was created this way, where there was just very little playing but a lot of playing with the system. Also, the Motor trilogy, same thing. So I mean, this takes time, right? Like, but sometimes I was just like sitting there in front of the computer for hours, like waiting for things to build up again, to rearrange, and it's just magical. Like, especially you can do stuff like you can, you know, like pitch something down like 3 octaves, and have the other track record into this at 3 octaves lower, or we can do this guy and go up here. So see, that means like what is being recorded, like the high part that comes from here, that's being recorded into this, because this looper is set at -3 octaves, and this is set to like plus 2 octaves. Once I put this guy back up, we'll get like super high frequency stuff. And you can also do things the other way around. Sometimes it's even like incomprehensible what's happening. So what I did there probably wasn't good for the build-up, but now we see, now we're getting something. Bring this back up to normal speed. Yeah, I mean, this would probably take too long to build up to something louder again, but you get the idea. Like, we get this really nice, unpredictable interactions.
Yeah, that's the 3-dimensionality I was talking about. I hear it happening right now. It's
yeah.
Really...
You know, Henry, it's there all the time, really. Now it's just very pronounced, because everything we hear we only hear the treatment now. We don't hear anything of the original signals anymore. So, but this kind of treatment is happening behind, you know, behind anything you play once the system is in motion. And also, like, we haven't even touched the amount or the rate of the panning. This is also something that can get modulated by the clip. So you could have something like even go to like a really, really fast rate. I mean, let's just do that here and kind of make this crazy. So now everything that gets recorded into looper 2 will have this really fast left to right panning, right? So, but any change I'm making here I'm making before looper, we don't hear it before the loop comes around. So I would also sit there and record like a 3-hour session of doing something like this, and then I would choose like a 10-minute chunk, and that would be a piece on one of my albums. You see, now the stereo panning is really, it's almost too much. So but now we can hear built up. Anyway, let me just Yeah. So this is another problem. When something like this is going, it's very hard to stop it. So let me just turn the feedback down.
Ah, now you figured out my intention of having you do this. Ooh.
So let's just see. Now we're back to only the cross feedback, and now we can say, okay, let's just. So what's going to happen now is that it will just fade out, and we'll
It's
have
almost
nice
having the effect of something. Another. I'm trying to remember if it was Heimbach, the synthesist from Berlin, who did something called disintegration tapes, where.
That's William Basinski.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
But I think Heimbach also did a demonstration of something similar with some of his equipment, where he took things and then let them gradually decay in real time, right? It starts clean, and by the end of it, it becomes particulate.
Yeah, that's what tape does. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to stop the screen sharing so that I get a chance to see some of you. Okay. Yeah, so this took a little longer than I thought, but I'm very I'd be happy if it was useful for you to see this.
That's wonderful. Really liked
It was really great. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very useful. Thank you very much.
Crazy.
You're welcome.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you.
And now you have the tools to build this yourself, and yeah, start working with it. I mean, I feel like I'm close to retiring anyway, so I'm happy with you guys continue with this. But anyway, like the part 4 of the workshop will be just like what we did here at the end. So I will be playing for 2 hours or so with the system. You can watch the screen as I play, and I will comment on everything I do, also with the instrument in hand. So I'm going to say which notes I'm playing, what I'm thinking, why I'm playing them in that place, etc. Like all the information, all the things that we talked about in these first 3 parts, I will try to share with you live as I perform, and I think that will bring everything together, and hopefully. You know, after next, probably in 2 weeks, after the next session, you will be very, very prepared to try something like this yourself. Yeah, from the idea of always using a volume pedal, to setting up your keyboard controls in Ableton, and you know, choosing the right notes, like knowing which notes are in a scale, or listening for gaps in the audio spectrum, like frequencies or like in time, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. I'm also thinking of doing other kinds of workshops. So if you have any idea or anything you want to learn about that is related to music, just send me a message, send me an email, and I will, you know, I need some input to come up with some ideas what I could present next. I mean, I do have ideas, but I would like to get your input. Yeah, what else would you like to hear about? You know, when I do this work with like this, creating this music that I just did, I always forget that there's more to it than what I show you, because there's like almost 30 years of thinking and practicing this kind of interaction with audio and with myself. And I always forget, and I think I'm already pretty good at you know, giving some of that to people that listen and watch what I do. But I think there are maybe some things that I haven't addressed, some aspects that you would like to learn about as well. So if you have any ideas, any thoughts, any feedback, send me an email. most of you, well, you guys should have my email, even my private email, which is the Gmail, or info@markusreuter.com. And yeah, I thank you so much. And unless there's another important question now, I would like to say good night. Yeah, it's 11:15 here, Saturday night. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Marcus.
Marcus.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Marcus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you.
Thank you.
well.
Evening.
Stay well, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you.
Take care. See
Everyone
you.
stay well.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Marcus.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So we go.